I want to thank everybody tonight for coming out. I know several of you have other functions to be to, and we will try to move this along to answer anybody's questions and get it out as quick as possible for you. But we'll take all the time you need too for those of you who would like to stick around. I'm very proud of this year's budget. Last year we were fortunate enough not to have any cuts or any problems with the budget when it went to council. This year I'm hoping for the same result. We have several things that we would like to go over with you tonight. I would like to first, before we go any further, to recognize Dr. Hammond, our new superintendent of schools. And we thank you very much for being here tonight. One of the things that we have tried to always do, and of course we had some rough years there, but it was the maintenance of effort. And I would like to tell you today, we met with the Board of Education and there was an amended budget today and we made some changes in it, but we have met MOE and there is no problem with the Board of Education budget. We're all on the same page. So I would like to thank the Board of Education for their cooperation and everything we can do to move Wicomico County along. So thank you all very much for that. This year's budget created several little problems for us. As you know, several things have changed in Annapolis locally, but quickly I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we had to do this year. This year we had $4.6 million in extra expenses that we had to figure out how to pay for. And I'm very proud to say we have done that. We have a balanced budget and we are not going to raise taxes this year for the citizens of Wicomico County for the second year in a row. So we're very proud of that. A couple of things that we would like to go through. The Board of Education, because they have a higher enrollment this year, the MOE did go up, which cost us an extra $626,000. Warwick Community College has got some renovations and we're trying to catch up with some things on that, and that was about $350,000. We're also putting in the Warwick Scholarship Fund, $265,000. The library was an additional $255,000 over last year's budget. Our health cost insurance is going to be the one thing that will shock a lot of you. Our health cost has gone up $939,000 over last year. I mean, we all knew it was coming, but didn't have any idea it was going to hit us like this. Our workers' compensation has gone up $204,000. Our other retirement benefits have gone up $425,000. Cost of living $871,000 to meet the COLA, and to try to bring that together, we are proposing a 3% pay increase for all county workers this year, which last year I believe they had a 1.7 2 years ago, and then it was a 2%. So we are bringing them up to as close as we can. Additionally, we had to do a compensation study, what's called compression, basically to keep ahead of the minimum wage and also to bring some of our skilled drivers up to a little bit higher wage so we could keep those. So we have done that and we're very pleased to present that to them. And also we have as you know, Matt Massarella and Laurie Brewster, we met the other week, and what we're trying to do for this next coming year is a program called COAT, and it's a community outreach addiction team. Wicomico County, sorrowful to say, is got a lot of problems with heroin, and we're going to do everything we can this year along with the Governor's Commission to try to work on this, but we are going out. This is the first one in the state of Maryland. I've got to give compliments to Matt Massarella. We've done 2 or 3 programs and they are now examples throughout the state of Maryland. But with that, this is a different program where we actually go out to the streets and we meet with the people. So anyhow, at that point in time, I would like to go ahead and bring Wayne Strasburg, Director of Administration, and he can go over a couple of slides that we're going to have tonight. If you've got any questions afterwards, like I say, when we go into open session, I know Mike Dunn actually has to go somewhere else real quick, so I'm going to let Mike speak first, and then the rest of you can follow in if you would. So thank you so much again.
Good evening. Thanks for coming. We're handing out hard copies because as we get into the presentation, you're going to find that we have a gremlin in our PowerPoint. But let me start off by saying that we're seeing some encouraging indicators in our local economy. Some recovery in employment, some recovery in our tax base, some recovery in our income tax receipts. However, we still feel that it's it's prudent to continue to be cautious with the manner in which we budget. Our focus is to continue to make our county more business friendly, to stimulate economic development to the extent that we can. Very focused this year on educating our citizenry, particularly providing some stimulus for higher education, providing our citizens with the opportunity to have the skills that the employment environment is looking for. Public safety is paramount. Bob just mentioned the opiate addiction issue that we're having. We're focused on that. And we're focused on improving our infrastructure and doing what we can to continue to improve our quality of life. So I think you'll see those threads carry through as we dial through our budget. As Bob mentioned, there will be no increase this year in the real property tax rate. Essentially, if you recall how the revenue cap works, the revenue cap is tied to the CPIU for the month of December, and the CPIU for the month of December, I believe, was a whopping 0.001%. So the reality of it is there, by that indicator, there was no increase in revenue allowable on real property taxes. However, on personal property, you'll remember that a couple of years ago we decoupled the personal property rate from the real property rate. We did that at the state level. So that was legislation that affected the entire state. So we could have increased the personal property tax rate from $2.17 to $2.38. We chose not to do that because we still believe that the business environment is somewhat fragile. We think that would be counterproductive. I should also mention that we're in the fourth year of phasing out our inventory tax, and that has a price tag on an annual basis of about $750,000, but we believe that that's a good economic stimulus. Let's go, Ray, to yes. So our revenue year over year, we're projecting will increase from 129 million to just a shade over 135 million. Let me tell you basically where that's coming from. Our income tax revenues, we have budgeted those essentially flat to our actual receipts last year. So that's accounted for about a $4.5 million projected increase in fiscal 17. Our real property base is improving basically because of a pretty vibrant commercial construction arena. That's adding projected about $500,000 a year. The state has provided us with an additional $1.4 million in what's called the disparity grant. So we're looking at about $6 million in increased revenue over that of last year. Our recurring expenses, you'll see about $1.8 million going to $1.14 million. Bob covered off on that. There's a slide later, and I'll detail what those increases are for you. We go to the next slide. And this is just a repeat. You'll see that our revenue year over year, excluding the use of prior year revenue, in other words, our fund balance, anything that we've got in reserve, went up about $5 million in terms of what we're projecting. This is a slide that you see each year. It shows essentially that 81% of the county's revenue comes from two sources: our local income tax and our property taxes. That's an historic trend. We've been trending to rely really more and more on property tax. About a decade ago, this was about a 40-40 split, and it's drifted more towards property taxes. Our fund balance, you may recall, our fiscal 15 results ended with us putting about $3.4 million into fund balance. We go to Wall Street each year, present to our credit rating agencies. They like us to keep this fund balance in the $30 million range. So you're going to see that we anticipate using some of the fund balance that we accumulated last year and we believe that if we execute this year's budget appropriately, we will probably be able to keep our fund balance in that $30 million range, which helps us with our credit rating, which in turn helps us with our borrowing rate. Wanted to show you this slide, loss of highway user revenue, $6.3 million. That loss of highway user revenue started in fiscal year '09, and the cumulative effect of the loss of highway user revenue to date is $52.5 million. So the county has lost $52.5 million since fiscal '09. And that has to come, if we're going to keep our roads in any decent shape, and it takes us about $7 million a year to do that, it either has to come out of fund balance or it has to come out of operating revenue, which then impacts other areas of spending. Governor Hogan, you may have read, had a plan to restore highway user revenue over an 8-year period. He embedded the first step of that restoration in this year's operating budget. His proposed operating budget, unfortunately, the General Assembly removed that increase, and it will not happen. We're essentially static with highway user revenue. We're operating at about 10% of historic levels. We did have a $1.4 million increase in the disparity grant, and Delegate Anderton also introduced a bill late in the session that would increase the disparity grant in fiscal 18 and 19. I think he had proposed an increase that would render about $2 million more for Wicomico County in 18. That unfortunately got amended. It'll be about $1 million. But kudos to Delegate Anderson for trying, and $1 million is $1 million, and we're happy to get it. Next slide. This is historic, and this is a picture that is not much different than most counties. About 78% of our borrowing, principal and interest payments, are for school construction, and that is not unusual across the state. Would like to point out, in terms of debt, our charter limit on debt is $213 million. We currently are at $103 million, so we're at 48% of our charter limitation. That's healthy. We have a principal and interest policy, an internal policy that limits our principal and interest payments on an annual basis to 12% of our general fund revenue. We are at 10%. So we're well within the limits in terms of debt. Our borrowing this year, we will probably go to Wall Street and try to borrow about $20.3 million. The two big projects there are $11 million for our emergency management radio system, which is antiquated, needs to be replaced, and $7.5 million for the West Salisbury Elementary School. Next slide. Pretty much just a repeat of the last slide without category names and percentages. Next slide. This slide demonstrates that 43% of our budget, our expenditure categories, goes to education. That says Board of Education, but it includes the Board of Education, includes Warwick Community College, the library, our extension service, and also our debt on school-related construction. Public safety and health is another 40%. So you can see 83% of the county's budget is going towards education, public safety, and health. Very fundamental spending, almost non-discretionary spending. Next slide. I know you've probably read a lot about the change that we made with respect to our law department this year. We're showing you this slide. Our fiscal 16 adopted budget for our law department had spending programmed for $475,000. This year's budget is projected at $325,000. So that's a savings year over year of $150,000, and our projected spending for 17 is based on our run rate. So we have experience with that. We think that's a real number. We think that that's supportable and sustainable. This slide demonstrates our legal expenses are running $17,000 to $20,000 a month. We have added some additional funding because we do have to go to Wall Street. That entails some legal expenditures. So there are other areas of spending, specialty spending, if you will. But we're very comfortable with that number. So without increasing taxes, we're making an investment in public health, public safety, education, and our employees. And you can read through those. I don't need to read them for you. Next slide. We talked about this earlier. So these are the costs that have been absorbed. We've increased spending to the Board of Education, $626,000, to Warwick, $356,000. We anticipate that the first year of the scholarship fund will be $265,000. The library is close to $256,000. Our health cost increased almost $940,000. Workers' comp, $205,000. OPEB, other post-retirement benefits. It's essentially health coverage for our retirees. Is $427,000. Our pension costs, contribution to pensions, almost $276,000. The COLA that we talked about for our employees is about $872,000. You recall that our employees, since the onset of the recession, I think had only received 2 COLAs. I think one was 2%, the other was 1.7%. So they have really lost spending power, if you will, in terms of real dollars. So we're trying to do our best to get them caught up somewhat. FOP, you probably read about the 5-year agreement that we structured with the FOP. This reflects what are called step increases within their ranks. We did a compensation study. We were well out of the market range in both roads and solid waste. We also had what's called wage scale compression, where in order to attract new employees, we were having to pay new employees pretty much the same as we were paying employees who had been with us for quite some time. So we had a real compression in the wage scales. We had to address that out of a sense of fairness. And we've done that, or we're proposing to do that. And as Bob mentioned, our community outreach addictions team initiative, we're going to invest $100,000 in that effort. That'll pay extraordinary dividends. I think if anyone contemplates the social costs of the opiate epidemic here in the county, across state, across the country, that is a small investment to make in order to try to help people avoid incarceration and get them back, if you will, on their feet and leading a useful life. And with that, we're going to entertain any questions that you may have.
Comments or whatever. Mike, you want to start?
You want to come up here? You want to stay? Depends on the question.
This isn't a question, it's a comment. I'm Mike Dunn, the President and CEO of the Greater Salisbury Committee. I thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak first, and I'm here today to support. You started your comments talking about education, the importance of education and the agreement that you've reached. We have the future superintendent here, the current superintendent here, the president of the Board of Ed, the vice president of the Board of Ed, the president of Warwick Community College. And we are thrilled with the initiative to bring and make Warwick Community College available and free to all seniors, all students in Wicomico County. The two things, I've been on my job for 3 months, and the two things I hear more than anything are career and college readiness and workforce development. And in this initiative, I think it's extraordinary. We can keep doing things the same way, or we can take advantage of an amazing educational opportunity that Warwick has presented us for, I think, 40 years now. The investment is paramount. The state of Delaware, as many of us know, just increased their investment in their seed program, which is virtually identical to what we're doing and what we're going to try to do here. Greater Salisbury is in favor of this because it's economic development. We're handing students, you'll be handing students tickets to college. Here's your free ticket to college. That's a phrase that Jamie Hayes of Junior Achievement shared. And it's a game changer. And one of the things that one of our members at Greater Salisbury said when I first shared that we were going to get behind this, he said, "That's an Obama idea, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, but it's also a Culver idea." So if you can take an idea that is viewed positively from the left and an idea that is promoted and viewed positively from the right, it must be headed for a good start. So it's a $265,000 first year investment. We think it's of paramount importance. We applaud the effort, and we'll be doing whatever we can to secure 4 votes from the County Council in support of this. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. Good luck with the evening, and thanks for this initiative. Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you. Ray Hoy, President of Warwick Community College. The Wicomico Economic Impact Scholarship, as we're referring to this particular program, is, I think, going to be a game changer in this community. We've looked at communities that have done this. Mike just referred to it being a President Obama initiative, but this predated President Obama. It's been in communities beginning in Kalamazoo, Michigan, over a decade ago. Garrett County, Maryland was actually the first county in Maryland to have a program like this. And I said recently that they were conservative before we were. Their economic development director actually came up with this program and suggested it to the county and said, if we're going to make a change, if we're going to improve our community, the way to do it is through education. And every high school graduate in Garrett County moves on to Garrett College. The county pays for their education. They have 3 years to make 2. That's the same proposal with this particular program. And there are stopgap measures in this to ensure success. Students don't complete the first semester full-time with the required GPA, they're out of the program forever. You can't get back in. So it ensures success. It stimulates success. The most important thing about this is 90% of our students stay in our community even after going on and earning advanced degrees. So if we can educate our community and have more people with more skills coming out into our workforce, it's going to have an economic spin. In communities that we've studied that have had programs like this long term, and the Lumina Foundation commissioned some studies, they found that housing prices increase. Obviously, the college going rate increases. The college graduation rate increases. Wicomico County today has 35% of the population with a college degree. The state of Maryland is working toward 55%, and it's currently at 46%. We need to increase the amount of people in our community with college degrees so that they can be competitive, and most importantly, so our businesses can be competitive. Because if we can provide a more educated workforce, we're helping our businesses be more competitive, and the economic spin is exponential for our community. So I wholeheartedly support your initiative. I think it's a wonderful idea and something that's going to be a game changer in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wayne. I'm John Sherwell. I'm a lifelong citizen of Wicomico County. And since we're on this topic, I figured I'd stay on this topic, if that's okay with you. And I won't repeat a lot of the stuff that was just said, but having had the experience as a former Board of Education member, I'm going to just offer a few observations. One of the observations is that at the pre-K, K, first grade, and even in second grade level, the issues that might wrap around economic disparity or in that fashion don't seem to have much impact on how a student performs in school. But somewhere around that time frame, third grade and on, there's a tendency to understand that maybe I don't have the ability because I can't go to college. I don't have the ability financially to do things. And so people lose the concept of a vision for what they can be. And this particular plan, I think, really brings that back into an opportunity for these young people to say, maybe there is a chance for me to be better. Maybe there's a chance for me to consider what it is that I can do in the future for a better paying job. The concept, in addition, again, just from observations, we have a need to increase our high school graduation rates. Mm-hmm. If people have an understanding that they have something in the future to go to, I think there's a tendency at that point perhaps to say, maybe I should stick with this longer. Maybe I should get better grades today. Within the school system itself, if people have that kind of an attitude, I think absenteeism will reduce as a result of that. Hopefully, some of the disciplinary problems may go away as people have more of a care about what their future looks like. From an economic standpoint, the contribution to the business community, I think, is critical. Post-secondary education is almost the norm today. Our local businesses are looking for skilled people that have skills that are over and above the secondary education level. Warwick Community College has been extraordinarily innovative and adaptable and flexible in coming up with programs, whether it was in the IT CAD area or the tremendous number of medical facility trainings that they do, from occupational therapy, nurses, even the welding, and of course we have the police academy there. I mean, all these things are good. Another important thing is graduate students from Warwick are automatically approved to go to one of the state of Maryland university system schools. So Salisbury University or UMES or anywhere else in the state gives them that opportunity. And think about this, that the average student comes out of college with about a $35,000 debt that they have to figure out how to pay over the next X years, which really inhibits them from the ability to buy a house or perhaps do some other things financially that they would like to do. If we can cut that in half for them, it is really, really a valuable thing. The last thing I'll say is that these students, as Ray just mentioned, who go to Warwick tend to stay here, and we want them here. We don't want them going elsewhere. So I think that's a really good thing. I really applaud your commitment to our students, both from the capital projects that you've done, as well as what I consider here a human investment, and it will be capital well spent. So thank you for it.
Let me make two comments on the economic development aspect of this. Executive Culver and I met with the county commissioners from Garrett County when we were at the Maryland Association of Counties Winter Conference. And they have had this program in place for 10 years, and they, to a person, said that from an economic development standpoint, it was the absolutely best tactic that they have employed in Garrett County. David Ryan at SWED has indicated that on the lower shore, we currently have 2,750 middle skill jobs that can't be filled because we don't have a workforce that can fill those jobs. If you take that number of jobs and assume a modest salary, $35,000 a year, you're approaching a payroll of $100 million. Now just think about that. Think about that. Think about filling those jobs and what the economic impact is of $100 million in payroll. That's what many people typically refer to as a no-brainer. So in any event. Mr. Hammer,
Thank you, sir.
how are you?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Fine.
Beautiful day on Delmarva today. I guess I better say I'm Gary Hammer. I'm a 39-year resident of Wicomico County, and I've been teaching in the school system 39 years, and I'm currently serving as the president of the Wicomico County Education Association. First off, I'd like to say it seems to be an evening of thank yous, which is a nice, refreshing change. So, I think we've all learned to maybe cooperate and collaborate a little bit more. So I'd like to thank Bob first off. I think last year when you allowed county employees to mentor some of our at-risk students, that was a huge step in a collaborative effort to get our most at-risk students some help. And of course, recognizing the fact that we do have a heroin issue here, which is in the past probably not been spoken about as much as possible. We have seen it not only affect the adults in the county, but filtering its way into the school system. And of course, parents on heroin and their children, are going to have some issues. So I applaud you on starting a program for that. Of course, with the increased enrollment here in Wicomico County, we do have a need for additional educators, school administrators, social and mental health workers. That's really what our students need, smaller class sizes and student one-on-ones with caring, well-trained, highly qualified adults who care about them and that are there to help them stay on the right path to success. So once again, I applaud you allowing that to happen within the budget. And, I have conversations every day with a variety of people around the county. And when they discover that I'm an educator, probably the first thing they say is, wow, I could never do that the way schools are today. And it's true, they're right. Probably being an educator in Wicomico County schools today is one of the toughest jobs in the county. But it's also the most important job in the county. Educators prepare and train every single child for their first job and for the rest of their life. And to get that job done, it takes the ability financially to get the right people in the right places. So thank you for helping us make that happen, and helping us keep our current highly qualified educators here in the county, and hopefully enticing new educators that we desperately will be needing in the few years coming forward as our baby boomers like me retire. And they're going to have to come in and replace us. So your support is greatly appreciated, and thank you. And Ray, it's good to see you. Probably a lot of people let me know we're high school classmates. So.
But he was younger.
I was not this much, but I wasn't in trouble as much.
Mrs. Handy.
Good evening. I am Margot Handy, Assistant Superintendent for Wicomico County Public Schools, and my area of focus is instruction. And I cannot tell you how delighted I am this evening. Executive Culver, thank you so much for your wonderful support of the school system, and thank you for your acceptance of the maintenance of effort budget that has been submitted. That will make such a difference for us. Thank you. With the budget that has been submitted, I cannot tell you how much it means to be able to continue to have highly skilled, highly qualified educators to be able to be compensated for the outstanding work that they do each and every day in the classrooms and beyond. The budget that was submitted reflects an opportunity for us to continue to focus on our main emphasis, and that is on literacy. We know with a literate population that our students will thrive because literacy transcends everything that we do, whether it's math, science, social studies, STEM, whatever. However, with that, in the budget, we need the materials to be able to teach the students, as well as professional development to guide the teachers as well. Thank you so much, because as all of us know, we have many unfunded mandates from the state. So we have to put those items in our budget. In our budget, we have asked for, of course, additional math teachers in our high schools so that our students can be college and career ready, taking the fourth math, as well as ensuring that we have transitional math classes so indeed they are ready. We also have in our budget, thank you again, technology, not only the equipment, but the infrastructure needed to support the equipment. Lots of testing requirements. We have submitted in our budget PSA, SAT, of course, so that our students can again be college and career ready. But above that, which is very important, in our budget, and everyone knows, safety and security is the utmost. Our students must be able to attend schools where there is a safe environment and security is in place. In this budget, we will be able to move forward with security cameras, additional cameras in our schools. We will be able to hire additional behavior therapists. We will also be able to hire and go forward with looking at a program to meet the needs of some of our most precious students, however, who have emotional needs. We also thank you because we also know that we need to do some things with the Choices program. This budget will allow us to do that. This budget also allows us to, and thank you, address the Mardella track. Thank you so much. The Mardella students and their families have been waiting a long time, and now is the time. Thank you again. Our athletic fields, they're a reflection of us. When we have visitors from out of town and they look at our high schools and our middle schools and even our elementary schools, but most especially our high schools, it is utmost important that we have funding to be able to make them look as beautiful as we can. So thank you again. We are very, very proud that we have many students who are now attending our Career and Technology Education Program, CTE. Therefore, we, in this budget, have asked, of course, for additional funding to address the transportation services that we need to get the kids from all over Wicomico County to Parkside, where the CTE program is located. Education begins when a child is born. Formal education in Wicomico County begins when children who attend our schools at the age of 3 years old, some of them, begins formally for them. Our role is to do our best with them from age 3 until they are college and career ready and they attend commencement at age 17 or 18. But beyond that, we talk about having a community where our citizenry is highly skilled and highly intelligent to be able to go in those jobs. And some of those jobs, we don't even know what they will be in the next 5 or 10 years. I am thrilled to say again, thank you for your support of the Warwick Scholarship Program. Thank you so much, Dr. Hoy. Thank you so much for your comments, Mr. Sherwell, because this will enable us as partners to do what we need to do for our students here in Wicomico who may not have had a dream of ever being able to go to college, who now will be able to go. It is our hope that when they start in pre-KK, we can educate the parents about what is down the road for your child so they have a reason and know why they are going to school and why it's important as a parent to be able to help my child not only study and learn, but be disciplined as well, because they do have a future. I cannot again thank you so much for providing a dream. Mr. Culver, thank you. We appreciate you.
Be sure to show up at council.
I will.
Andrea.
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
not really sure I can follow this, but I'll try. I'm Andrea Bursler. I am a Wicomico County resident. I'm also the executive director of Wicomico Public Libraries. This is sort of sounding like a little redundancy, but thank you very much. The library has done its fair share over the past few years of doing without, and we appreciate the additional funding. It will allow us to make a match, a state capital grant match, which will bring $320,000 of additional funds to the library and allow us to repair many of the infrastructure issues in our 40-plus-year-old building, and hopefully modernize it. It will also allow us to do what the county is doing for its employees and deal with the cost of living and all of the adjustments that are required by the new minimum wage, cover the health care costs and those sort of things. And lastly, it will allow us to maintain some of our most successful STEM programs. These are the STEM programs that are among the child's first. We have preschool and elementary school STEM programs that we provide for children, especially at-risk children. They do robotics, they do building, they do coding, they get on computers, they get on tablets, and these programs needed the additional funding, and we really appreciate the fact that you've recognized the importance of these programs and you've included them in your budget. It means an awful lot to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Richard Duvall. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors at the library. I'm going to echo what Ms. Bursler said, but I also want to say on behalf of the board, thank you very much for what is evidently some very hard and creative work to make this budget work, and thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Carrie Lewis. I am a Wicomico County teacher, have been for 19 years. I'm here to kind of advocate tonight for the budget that we have for our intervention teachers. I'm currently a reading intervention teacher at Delmar Elementary, which is the largest elementary school in Wicomico County. Right now we have about 870 some students. And of those, I am the only reading intervention teacher paid through general funding. We do have 2 additional teachers paid through our Title I program, but as you know, that's based on our free and reduced meals.
Right.
And although we do have 60% of our students, it's unfortunate that they look at it through percentage-wise, because 60% of our students is 500 kids. And that's equivalent to some whole schools in Wicomico County. So, you know, we are looking at trying to make sure that we do keep that program for our students. We too teach LLI, which is Leveled Literacy Intervention. It is a program that the county does do with their intervention teachers. We take children using authentic text and work them from working towards level, try to get them on level with the program. It's an additional block to their reading, and it's done on a daily basis. So we do need the supplies for that as well. There are programs, it's a scientifically based program that helps those students do that. I do know in the budget that you have budgeted for additional reading intervention teachers, and that's wonderful. We do hope that you know, that would continue to go. We would like to continue working with the LLI program. We've made every effort we can at our school. We have our reading specialist, our media specialist, taking a few groups. We have our special education teachers taking some groups. So we've really tried to utilize everybody we can to help our working towards level students really increase their reading, because as Dr. Handy said, reading is the foundation to everything. You can't read a math problem and do the math if you can't figure out what they're asking you. Science, again, STEM, it's great to do those investigations, but if you can't read the steps, you can't do it successfully. So we really think that's very important. We've had some successes at our school, which we're very happy to talk about. We do have kindergarten, pre-K through 4th grade at Delmar. We've been able to service 45 students in our primary level and actually exited them out on grade level, who are currently working towards level and are currently working with 82 additional students in the program. But unfortunately, there's 53 students because of our lack of resources that are not going to get any service this year. And that kind of equates to almost 2.5 classes of students that aren't going to be able to be serviced because of that. At our intermediate level, we've had 28 students that we've brought to level. Working with 25, and again, 38 of our students are not going to get services. So throughout our entire school, we have about 91 students that aren't going to be able to have services because we are limited on the resources of teachers that are there to do that. So we certainly know that there is an extreme need for some of these students to have that extra reading help. And working with them and getting them on level just gets them college and career ready. And if we can get them in those primary grades and get them in the early intermediate grades, then by the time they get to middle school and high school, they'll have a better chance and have that future of saying, hey, maybe I can make it to Warwick now because I've got a better foundation that I've gotten in elementary school. So we're very thankful that you've done that and hope that perhaps you will think of funding additional intervention teachers to help our students in elementary school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Good evening.
Fitzgerald, how are you?
Don Fitzgerald, lifetime resident of Wicomico County, serving now as the president of the Wicomico County School Board. It's been a long haul for all of us with our budgets. But I want to thank you, Bob Culver, and you probably don't hear that from me much.
I'm
But
My last night.
But when we, the old saying, when we get things right, we're trying to get things right. We're working and now working together instead of against each other. And there's one reason, and that's for the students of Wicomico County. And as long as we can understand that, we might not agree on everything, but as long as we can see what the goal is, we'll come out of this. Dr. Hoy, I was privileged to hear the presentation at the Optimist Club with the scholarship. It's a win-win. It's a win-win for Wicomico County students. As you look around tonight and how important this budget is to us, 5 of the 7 members are here. That's how important our budget is. And, we've worked hard to get it to where, everybody can live with it. Could we use a little more? Absolutely. But I think we can live with this. Thanks to Bruce Ford for all the hard work and his team. And thank you for meeting in short notice, going over some changes that we had. And Bob, I want you to write this down.
I'm taking notes.
Thank you
I'm recording.
for this. Wayne, thank you. And it also brings in a new era. John is leaving. Dr. Hannah will be taking over, and this is going to be her budget. So, hopefully we can build on the relationship. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm an optimist at heart. And I want for the best for our students of Wicomico County. I'm a product of it, and I want it to keep on going. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, Tom Taylor, Wicomico County resident, up here because you can't please everybody, right? No, there are a lot of thanks going out to you, Mr. Culver, and thank you for what you do. I'm very happy with what you're doing. I do want you to keep in mind that most of the people who work in Wicomico County either make a good living or don't make a good living or don't have a retirement or don't have health care. Very rarely do you have all 3, of which I would say that county employees are doing pretty well on all 3 of those issues. So when you take, and for keeping taxes down, thank you. And I appreciate what you're doing for the county employees, but remember that the people who are paying the bills are not so well off as to have all 3 of those to fall back on. And we are the initial teachers of the children that go through the system. Pre-K, as if it were. So the money that you can save those people who are out there working hard, who don't have the health care and who don't have the retirement, keep up the good work and keeping the costs down. Now, I don't mind Wayne getting a 3% COLA, but it might be better off if he just got a minimal bonus or something to that effect, instead of an increase in the budget that will have to be met year after year after year. Just keep that in mind. Thank you.
I won't be around that long. I'm too old.
Good evening, John Palmer, one of those 7 members of the school board, and I would like to thank you all for your cooperation on this budget. And I would like to say I'm going to be very interested in this program that we are developing with Warwick Community College. I think it would be a good help to our students to make their way in the world. Dr. Hoy, a couple questions or maybe suggestions. I would like to be sure that before our students go into this program, that both of our local colleges accept every credit that they gain on going through Warwick. In other words, their English 101, their Math 101. I want to be sure that Salisbury University and UMES is going to accept that credit.
I'll show it to you.
Okay, and there's also another group of students who I think a lot of people leave out. And these are the students who, they graduate from high school and they'll go into one of our local colleges. After a year and a half, 2.5, or 2 years, they find out maybe I'm not ready to complete this education at this time. I want to take a little time off, but maybe I would like to refocus my efforts and go back to Warwick and maybe at least get my AA degree and then maybe move on for there. So as we are going to be sure that the two local colleges are accepting our credits, I think it would be great if Warwick accepts the credits that the students accumulate over at Salisbury University and at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. And okay, and I've heard some other reports, and I'm glad you say we do, because now I can tell somebody, hey, that's not true. Okay, so I'm looking forward to this program, and I guess we'll get a report, annual report about what's going on.
I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Outstanding, thank you.
Thank you. A couple of the speakers have mentioned how difficult it is to pull together a budget like this. And before I wrap up, I wanted to acknowledge our Finance Director, Leslie Lewis, and our HR Director, Michelle Ennis, who have put in a tremendous amount of work putting together a really difficult budget, done a great job. And thank you very much. Did a good job. Any other input? Dr. Frederickson.
Thank you. I couldn't resist the opportunity for a last visit with you.
The so-called swan song?
I don't know about that. I'm John Frederickson. I'm a resident of Wicomico County. I want to say thank you, Bob, Wayne, Leslie, Michelle, for your work in terms of developing the budget. And I want to give accolades to Bruce and to Kathy, Dr. Townsend, and the rest of the team that worked diligently behind the scenes, analyzing particularly the new legislation in terms of finding ways to maximize every state dollar that we can possibly get. I want to brag up my team just a little bit first. The graduation rate has increased about 100 basis points, or 1%, every year for the last 5 years. I don't teach the classes. Our teachers teach the classes, and the kids do the work. Our AP has almost doubled in 5 years. The test scores have increased in every area. You have to get a 3, 4, or 5 on the AP test to have it count for college. Our dual enrollment has been a solid growth there, and I believe this new scholarship program, we're delighted to continue working with you, Ray, to have that happen, because that will help build our economy and also help us keep the kids in school, particularly those students that say, gee, I want to start slacking off. Now they've got a real target to go for, and they're real dollars that make a difference there. Also, I want to talk about a little, just a small bit. Our teams have not only looked at what's going on in the classrooms as far as the test scores, but they're also looking in terms of the inputs that we provide. And our teachers and our administrators have been state models in terms of the staff evaluation system and working to influence not only state legislation, but also federal legislation that is saying, what is happening to the kids? What are you moving the kids up, as opposed to just what kind of a national test did they take, and did they get a 90 or a 50 on it? That's fantastic. I want to say thank you for the support for cameras, radios, ramps, vestibules, and training for our folks in terms of the safety, the discipline, and the management of the school system. We have 15,000 students, about 250 more than we had last year. That really makes a difference. Particularly, we didn't increase the size of any of the buildings this year other than Bennett Middle School, and that's only one group of about 1,000 students. Reading, we put a lot of dollars into reading instruction, and Dr. Handy and ma'am, thank you for pushing so hard on that, because that is critical. In the olden days, not that long ago actually, the test for mathematics, where they would show some numbers and maybe a plus sign or a minus sign or a division or whatever the formula was. Today, it's all word problems. So if you didn't like word problems as a kid, guess what? That's all the kids are getting today, but that's applicable for real life later on. We're also looking at professional development for the teachers. We're looking at class size, and thank you for the help on that. And finally, we're adding CTE courses, career and technology education courses at the high school level, because we are listening to our local businesses and they're saying things that help us understand where is the market for employees. So we want to knock that 2,750 down to maybe 2,600, maybe 2,300, maybe to under 2,000. And finally, we're developing some efficiencies. With your help in terms of making sure we have the technology in place, we're looking at digital media for our students. We're looking at technology in the management of our schools, making sure that the temperature, we don't want to be heating a building at 70 degrees if you're only using one room. We want to dial everything else down to a more reasonable rate and just heat the space that's getting used. And that takes technology, and that takes somebody behind the wall that actually helps on that. We also are delighted with the funding for West Salisbury. We're optimistic and confident that we're going to get the state money to make that happen for those children. We're already making the moves to be able to efficiently house the children in schools next fall so that everybody except a small percentage of one of our buildings will be in an air-conditioned space. That'll be really, really tight and uncomfortable. So that it's going to be a little bit of a pinch, but we're going to make it work next fall for the kids. And we're going to continue to work to be efficient. We have gotten national awards and international awards for our financial management and our financial reporting to make sure that we're transparent. From ASBO and from GFOA, we believe that's the way to do it, right down to the transportation for the kids on the bus. And I'm delighted to continue working with you, and we'll be working together until June 30th. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Joe Ollinger. I'm on the Board of Education. I've been there for 10 months. And I'd like to just report to you that what I've learned in that 10 months is that our public school system offers an excellent education for the students of our county. And I really mean this. And I didn't learn this until after being on the board for 10 months. Any parent in this county that wants a great education for their child can send them to our public schools. And I know every once in a while there's some bad news that comes out, but we've got 15,000 kids coming and going in our school system. And every once in a while in life, some bad stuff happens. But I want to just emphasize that, and I really have learned that over the last 10 months. And I think we get great value for the tax dollars that we get from our county and from our state. Now, I'd like to talk to you as just a citizen of the county, and it has to do with the cost of inflation. Mr. Culver mentioned COLA increases. We're all aware that there are cost of living increases throughout our society. I'm going to get my first Social Security check this coming month. And I know year after year that is looked at and increased. And all people who retire, you know, they hope that they get that increase in the cost of living. And it's built into society. But unfortunately, we have two areas in our county that is not covered. Number one is in the revenue cap. That 2%, we've been fortunate that that cap at 2% has been pretty good to us because inflation since 2002 has not exceeded 2% all that often. But there's going to come a time where inflation is going to go up 3, 4, 5, and I was, I lived through the early 80s, as I'm sure most of you did, and that was in the 12 to 16% range. And all organizations, private sector, public sector, had to absorb those costs. So I would look to you, Mr. Culver, and hopefully to the county council to lead an effort. You can keep the revenue cap, but lift that 2% and put it in a referendum so that we can discuss that. That's the first one. The other one has to do with maintenance of effort. Maintenance of effort has nothing, no inflation area. There's nothing in there for inflation. So we can go year to year to year, and you can meet maintenance of effort. But our cost at our school systems go up just like they do in the county. You know, you've got your increases and everyone else, but there's nothing in there on maintenance of effort to cover the cost of inflation. And I think we need to look at that and change it so that on a regular basis, every year, we achieve maintenance of effort, and we look to add on an inflation factor. Finally, as a member of the Board of Education, I make $3,700 a year. And I just want to let you know, I didn't get an increase this year.
Before I turn it back to Executive Culver, are there any more comments, questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Well, thank you all very much. I just want to close up with a couple quick things here. Dr. Frederickson, we want to thank you very much for your term with Wicomico County. We may not have always been on the same page, but your love of the children in Wicomico County goes without saying. So we know that your heart was in the right place there. We appreciate that very much. And to Dr. Hanlon, Donna, welcome home. So we appreciate having you come back. So we're looking forward to that. But I do appreciate everybody's comments, the suggestions, and certainly the good vibes from the Board of Education. I really got to do a check this week on my health, see if that's it or not. But we do. We have the children in mind, and that's what we're going to do. Well, again, and Don, you mentioned it. We probably won't always be able to close on the same numbers or the same facts, but the children are our future, and a lot of us are those baby boomers who are going to look to those children to take over in the next 5 to 10 years. So we do appreciate everything the board members are doing and the teachers are doing, and we appreciate that. Dr. Hoy, I appreciate everything you've done in helping us come up with this program. Like I say, we ask for your encouragement to go to the council and suggest your feelings towards the council. Don't be hesitant to tell them anything. They will be publicizing their schedule as to what parts of the budget they will be going over. It's a long process for them. It's been a long process for us, but we turn it over to them on Monday, and we look forward to their meetings and going through everything. So again, thank you all for coming out tonight. I feel that's pretty good, an hour for PAC 14. We appreciate your time out here. So let us know if there's anything else we can do for you, but thank you again.